Imagine you're sailing across the open ocean. The sun is warm, the waves are gentle, and the only thing on the horizon is the endless blue. Now, picture something impossible appearing out of nowhere. Not just a ship, not an island, but an entire city, seemingly floating on the water. This isn't a fantasy story. This is a documented event that has baffled historians and scientists for over a century. Our story begins in the year 1883. The British merchant ship, the HMS Sea Serpent, is making its way through the calm, turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea. The crew is going about their daily duties. The voyage has been uneventful, almost mundane, but what they are about to witness will defy all logic and explanation. Suddenly, the lookout cries out, his voice filled with disbelief. Everyone on deck rushes to the railing, and there it is. Suspended just above the surface of the water, an entire, magnificent ancient city. It wasn't a blurry shape or distant illusion. The captain, a man of sober habits and clear mind, described it in his log as being incredibly detailed. He wrote about massive stone gates that seemed to welcome them, about towering columns that gleamed as if made of gold, catching the midday sun. The architecture was intricate with carvings and symbols that seemed strangely familiar. The crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and young adventurers, stood in stunned silence. They weren't seeing a mirage, that shimmering distortion of light you see on a hot day. The image was stable, solid, and three-dimensional. For more than 10 minutes, the city remained perfectly visible. The captain ordered the ship to change course, to get closer to this impossible spectacle. As they drew nearer, they could make out even more detail. They saw what looked like pyramids and grand temples, structures that spoke of a powerful and advanced civilization. The carvings on the stone walls, according to the captain's log, were intricate and resembled the art of the ancient Maya. But how could a Mayan city be floating in the middle of the Caribbean Sea? It made no sense. Just as they thought they were about to reach it, about to uncover one of history's greatest secrets, the city began to fade. It didn't sink or crumble, it simply dissolved. Like smoke, it thinned and vanished into the sea breeze, until nothing was left but the empty expanse of water. The crew rubbed their eyes, questioning their own sanity. Had they all shared the same hallucination? But the captain's log entry was there, a concrete record of an impossible event. They had all seen it, every last detail. When the HMS Sea Serpent finally returned to England, the story caused a sensation. It was dismissed by many as a tall tale, the kind of story sailors tell after too much time at sea. But some were intrigued. Historians and archaeologists took a close look at the captain's descriptions and the sketches made by one of the officers. The details were startlingly accurate. The architectural style, the pyramid-like structures, the specific symbols described, they all pointed to one place. Chichen Itza, the famous ancient city built by the Maya people. But there was one colossal problem. Chichen Itza is located deep inland, in the heart of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, hundreds of miles away from where the ship had been. It's a city of stone, firmly planted on the ground, a popular tourist destination even back then. It couldn't possibly be floating on the ocean. The discovery only deepened the mystery. How could a crew of British sailors, most of whom had likely never even heard of Chichen Itza, describe it with such precision? This could have been written off as a one-time fluke, a bizarre, isolated incident. But it wasn't. As researchers dug deeper into maritime archives, they found something even more astonishing. They unearthed older reports, much older, that described the exact same phenomenon in the exact same area. One particularly compelling account came from Spanish sailors in the year 1650, nearly 250 years before the British sighting. Their report, filed away and forgotten, told of a city of golden towers that appeared on the water, only to vanish as their galleon approached. The descriptions were eerily similar: the grand gates, the gleaming structures, the sudden disappearance. This pattern of sightings, separated by centuries, suggests we're not just dealing with a simple mistake or a sailor's yarn. We're looking at a recurring phenomenon, a ghost city that materializes in a specific part of the Caribbean Sea. So, what could possibly explain it? Science has tried to offer some answers, but none of them quite fit. One of the most common theories is a complex atmospheric mirage known as a fata morgana. This is an optical phenomenon that occurs when rays of light are bent as they pass through layers of air at different temperatures. A fata morgana can make objects on the horizon, like islands or ships, appear distorted, elongated, and even floating in the air. They can look like fantastical castles or cities. It's a plausible explanation, and it's responsible for many ghost ship legends like the Flying Dutchman. However, there are problems with applying this theory here. A fata morgana is typically blurry, shimmering, and constantly changing shape. The sailors on the HMS Sea Serpent described a perfectly stable, clear, and detailed image that lasted for over 10 minutes. Furthermore, a fata morgana is a reflection or distortion of a real object that is over the horizon. For Chichen Itza to be the source, it would have to be reflected from hundreds of miles inland, over land and sea, and appear perfectly formed. The physics of that are incredibly unlikely, if not impossible, according to many optical experts. So, if it's not a mirage, what else could it be? Another idea points to a phenomenon involving bioluminescent organisms. The ocean is full of creatures that can produce their own light. Perhaps a massive, uniquely shaped bloom of algae or plankton could create the illusion of a city at night. But both the British and Spanish sightings happened during the day, under clear skies. The city was described as being made of stone and gold, reflecting sunlight, not producing its own light. So this theory doesn't hold up either. This leads us into more speculative territory. Could it be a shared, collective hallucination? It is possible for a group of people under stress or in an unusual environment to influence each other into seeing something that isn't there. But two different crews from different countries and different centuries hallucinating the exact same detailed city? The odds of that are astronomical. It defies the principles of psychology. These were not suggestible individuals. They were experienced sailors and officers whose job depended on accurate observation. Let's explore a more fringe but fascinating possibility. What if the city wasn't an illusion at all? What if it was, in some sense, real? Some theories propose the idea of a dimensional rift or a temporary window into another time or place. Could these sailors have been looking through a brief, localized tear in the fabric of space-time? Perhaps they were seeing Chichen Itza as it existed in the past, or even in a parallel reality. This sounds like science fiction, but when conventional science fails to provide an answer, we have to consider all possibilities, no matter how strange. The area where this happened is part of the infamous Bermuda Triangle, a region notorious for unexplained disappearances and strange phenomena. Could this floating city be another piece of that enigmatic puzzle? Then there is the theory that what they saw was not Chichen Itza, but a remnant of a different unknown civilization. A city that once existed on land that is now submerged. We know that sea levels have risen and fallen throughout history. Could this be the ghost of a city from a lost continent, like the legendary Atlantis? Perhaps some unknown atmospheric or geological condition in that specific spot allows a spectral image of this sunken city to be projected onto the surface. The stone tape theory suggests that powerful events can be imprinted onto the environment and replayed under certain conditions. Maybe the energy of this ancient place is so strong that it occasionally projects an image of its former glory. The mystery is that the sightings are specific. They don't just see a city. They see a Mayan-style city in the daytime, in vivid detail. The captain of the Sea Serpent was a practical man, and his log entry is precise. He noted the angle of the sun, the condition of the sea, the reaction of his crew. He was trying to document, not sensationalize. He was as baffled as anyone. To this day, there is no scientific consensus on what those sailors saw. It remains one of the great unsolved maritime mysteries. Was it a freak of nature, a bizarre combination of light and atmospheric conditions that perfectly mimicked a city hundreds of miles away? Was it a psychological event, a mass delusion shared by crews centuries apart? Or was it something else entirely? A glimpse into another dimension, the spectral echo of a lost civilization, or a message from the past that only appears to those who are meant to witness it? The ocean is vast and still holds so many secrets. We have explored more of the surface of the moon than we have the depths of our own planet's waters. What lies beneath, and what strange phenomena can the interaction of sea and sky produce? The floating city of the Caribbean is a powerful reminder that our world is still full of wonder, and that there are some mysteries that science has yet to solve. The story serves as an open invitation to wonder, to question, and to imagine the impossible. Perhaps one day another ship will sail through those same waters, and its crew will look out and see those golden columns rising from the sea once more. Until then, the story remains a haunting and beautiful enigma. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed diving into history's greatest unsolved mysteries, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. We'll see you in the next one.